Hello, I'm Scott Lowe, and I'm here today at Scout Computing, and I'm joined by Scott Loughmiller, VP of Engineering and a founder of Scout Computing, where we're going to talk about their HC3 product. It's a hyperconverged product, and it's pretty unique in the market. Thank you, Scott, for having us.
Oh, no worries.
So tell us about the decision process that went into how you decided to build HC3, using KVM, the whole hyperconverged play. Tell us a little bit about the beginnings.
Sure. So before we did the hyperconverged product, we had a product that was a storage product, and 70% of our customers, maybe even more, were using the storage product as a backend for virtualization, for VMware and Hyper-V and that kind of thing. And what they would do is buy our storage, and they would buy VMware, and they'd buy some servers from Dell or HP or whatever, and then they would take it home and screw it together and spend 3 weeks getting the thing up and running, and then they would finally have this, virtualization infrastructure that provided high availability and all these other great features that come along with virtualization. And we saw that and said, we can make that a lot better. The process of just setting it up, and then the management of managing separate components was just an overwhelming prospect for many of our customers. And we were losing sales to people going, not doing it. Too much work, too hard, just going with servers because it's much easier. And so we looked at that and said, we're going to simplify this whole process, build this hyperconverged product, basically hide the storage, integrate the servers and the software all into one package, and provide customers with a simple-to-use virtualization product.
And you run KVM.
And we run KVM.
Tell us about that decision, because that's interesting, obviously, because we don't hear a lot about KVM in the market. We hear about vSphere and Hyper-V in the war, but KVM sort of sneaks up on people as an opportunity to do some great things.
Well, so one, KVM's a great hypervisor. It's fast, it's simple. It was built kind of post the Intel virtualization instructions, so there's not a lot of baggage from native instruction set. It's also it's built on top of the Linux kernel code. So a lot of the scheduling and prioritization and all that kind of stuff that goes along with the hypervisor is actually just pulled straight from the Linux kernel. And that's tried, true, tested, really solid stuff. And so that's where a lot of speed comes from, and that's the reason kind of KVM went from 0 to 60 so fast, is because they were able to do a lot of reuse of the code. For us, it was a pretty simple solution because the storage product was built on top of Linux. And made perfect sense for us to use a Linux-based hypervisor. And in the grand scheme of things, there's only one in that game that's of consequence these days, which is KVM. Zen's out there, but they've got their own baggage. So that was the the thinking there. And then when you get down to it, and we talk to our customers, they don't care about the hypervisor. They care about a solution that gives them the features that virtualization gives them, not that it's Hyper-V or VMware or anything like that.
Now, one of the, KVM is not known necessarily for being super easy to get up and running. One of the nice things about a pre-configured appliance is it's all done. But you had to do some engineering work to make that look as simple to the customer as it does. So tell me a little bit about how you made that happen.
Well, sir, so we can go back again to kind of our history of the storage product. We sell a clustered Linux storage system, or we did sell a clustered Linux storage system. Running a Linux cluster is extremely complicated, extremely complex, hard to set up, hard to manage. And our DNA is taking that sort of complex system and making it turnkey, easy to use. And so one of the really cool things is we've got some in-house technology that essentially works as a automated Linux system administrator. And we were able to very quickly, we went from storage to hyperconvergence in about 3 or 4 months. Very quickly adapt that same technology or extend that same technology to add the virtualization functionality to the storage, because you obviously need the storage as part of the virtualization product. So now you're just adding onto the stack the virtualization stuff, and it works great, and it makes it super easy. You can configure a VM and set up a VM in like 30 seconds.
Around the virtualization space, there's some of those add-on deals, you got to think about like monitoring and backup and things like that. How have you guys solved those challenges with it? Because the KVM market doesn't enjoy the wide ecosystem that you see with vSphere and Hyper-V. So you've had to kind of build some of that yourself, right?
Right. So we've built some of that ourselves. So we have built-in replication and snapshotting and a lot of those kind of things that came for free from the storage days with the current product, and then going forward, it's for us again, it's about simplicity of use and integration. So, just taking something off the shelf and using it doesn't really solve the problem the way we want to solve it. We want the customer everything to work seamlessly and perfectly integrated. So, developing it ourselves, or a lot of times we'll use open source software. We constantly do that, where we take a piece of open source software, make it easy to use, and integrate it into the product. So, there's not a long development cycle to make that happen.
That's great for your customers, because it's got to bring the price down for the solution, and so that's the other thing. Barrier to entry is not really a price anymore.
Right. Well, we don't nickel and dime you, right? I mean, you buy our solution and that's it. There's one price all in, and you're done.
Right.
You don't have to buy that and then it's this if you want high availability, and it's X if you want replication, and it's this if you want backup, and if you want to buy this, it's this and that. You get it all, one package, and it's basically infrastructure in a box.
Now, the other thing you've done is you've leveraged this another trend, which is basically the commoditization trend.
Right.
You're not custom building hardware. You're basically taking off-the-shelf components.
Yes. Everything's completely off the shelf. It's it's built to our spec, but it is standard off-the-shelf components. Okay.
And so your customers get a pretty good bang for their buck.
Yes. I mean, that's kind of been our mantra since day one. Is when we were storage, it's cost per terabyte. When we're in the virtualization world, it's cost per VM, and and not giving up that feature set because you're paying a lower cost. It's the performance is there, the feature set's there, and the simplicity is above everybody else, and you're getting that for a lower cost.
You mentioned that when you go into a deal, customers really don't care about the hypervisor per se.
Right.
What are some of the common challenges that you're helping customers overcome when you're walking into a deal? Why are they talking to you? What's success? I mean, obviously a sale is success.
Right.
But for them, what's the aha moment that they say, you know what, this is a no-brainer, let's just do it?
Right. The biggest thing is, one of the easiest sells is to sell to a current virtual VMware customer or a current Hyper-V customer, because you walk in and you say, okay, we're going to do a demo, and we're gonna deploy a VM, right? And you do it, and they're like, that's nice, it's 4 or 5 clicks, and then you go, well, you didn't set up your availability groups, you didn't carve up a LUN for storage, you didn't do X, you didn't do Y, you didn't do Z, and then they go, oh. Right. And you go, and immediately the VM is, highly available. It's, one click away from replication and backup. It's, it is as easy as it gets. And you, as a customer, can focus on your actual business cases and your business problems instead of your infrastructure.
What kind of other inertial issues in some of your clients do you have to say, like, we have to overcome these things, these preconceived notions and things like that? Do you have anything like that where you guys are kind of have a barrier to entry?
I mean, the number one thing is, we walk into a deal, and generally someone is saying, we're buying VMware with Dell servers and Dell storage, or maybe EMC storage or NetApp or something like that. And then there's Scale Computing, the startup that you've never heard of. And nobody gets fired for buying the tried and true solution. So brand recognition is probably the biggest thing we have to overcome in those kinds of in that kind of deal. That's the biggest step to get over. Once you're over that hurdle, it gets really easy.
Where's your sweet spot in the market right now, where you say, like, this is where we play really well? Below this, not so well. Above this, not so well. Right yet.
Right. So kind of our minimum deployment is something around 30 VMs.
Okay.
Below that, the cost per VM is kind of out of whack. And then we scale up to, we're approaching probably in the mid, like 500 to 800 VMs before where's kind of the top end of where things get comfortable for us right now.
And where do you max out scale-wise on the stack? How many units can you put in a stack right now?
Right now we can do 8, and we're planning to go to 16 soon.
Very good. And that'll give you how many virtual machines? Double, basically? Is it
double.
Linear scalability?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's good for an overview.
Cool.